So hi everyone, I welcome you all into this session number one of Boomi training. So for few of you, this is more like a demo session, right? I think there are a few people who already know me, but then there are many of you who might be interacting with me for the first time. So since it is our first session, we'll start with a quick round of introduction. Like I will not pass on the ball to you at the moment because we have a lot of people who have joined, so do not want to lose the whole time in the introductions. So just in the interest of the time, I'll introduce myself and maybe, after a couple of sessions, we will have introductions of other people as well. Once we finalize, right, who all would be part of this uh, batch of ours, right? So let me start with my introduction, guys. My name is Sumit Aggarwal. People also know me as Sunny Aggarwal. Okay. I have been working in IT for 12 plus years now. I have been working in integration from day one of my career. I have got exposure to different integration tools like Oracle Fusion Middleware, then Dell Boomi, MuleSoft. I know a little bit of work at also. And given a chance, I always look forward to work on new tools and technologies. Just one quick request: if you're not speaking, be on mute because this is being recorded and it will be used by a lot of people. So this continuous background noise creates an annoyance, when you will watch this recording. So if you're not talking, kindly be on mute. Yeah. All right. So this is about my experience. I work as a chief evangelist with Techie Geek Hub Software Solutions. With this Techie Geek Hub Software Solutions is my brainchild. And we have a team of close to 35 people here working together on integration, and some of the people who have joined today are from my team as well, whereas there are a few people who have joined from outside, right? So this is about me, and we all are here to talk about Dell Boomi. Actually, Dell Boomi is no more known as Dell Boomi. It is in fact called as only Boomi. Okay. So since I am associated with Boomi since the time when it was called Dell Boomi, so I might sometimes say Dell Boomi, but I would prefer you to call it as Boomi. Okay. The reason is Dell Boomi was called as Dell. There was a prefix called as Dell because it had an association with a Dell company, and now it has been sold to another company. So people essentially call it as Boomi, right? So, but that's not such a big thing. But before we jump onto Boomi or anything else, one question which comes into a lot of people's mind: what is a prerequisite to learn this? Okay, what is a prerequisite? So the prerequisite to learn Boomi is nothing but if you're attending my session regularly, that is only a prerequisite. You don't need to worry about anything else, regardless of the background you come from, whether you're from technical background, non-technical background, whether you are from business side of it, whether you're working in some kind of a BPO, doesn't matter, right? If you're attending the sessions regularly, if you're doing the hands-on for the things which are being explained on the day-to-day basis, it should be more than sufficient to learn Boomi. But still, if somebody wants to know further, right, I think if you have good knowledge of XML, if you have good knowledge of JSON, if you have good knowledge of REST, SOAP, right, if you are good with these 4 or 5 things, and of course some basic integration terminologies, right, I will tell you what are those terminologies. If you're good with those 5 6 things, then rest I'm going to take care in my sessions. Even if you do not know these 5 6 things, you need not to panic, you need not to worry. The sessions would be from very scratch, right? It will be from the ground level. So I do not assume that my people know anything. I assume that you are just vanilla version of the software with no configurations, and we will do the configurations as we move ahead. This is about prerequisite because this is a doubt in a lot of people's mind. Now, how do you do hands-on? So there is something called as Boomi Atomsphere platform. I'm sure many of you might have an idea about it. This is also called as Boomi platform. Some people call it as Boomi Atomsphere platform. It is Atomsphere. It is not atmosphere, right? Please look into the words carefully, because some of the keywords which are used in Boomi are very, very different than the conventional or traditional programming languages. So you might find it little difficult initially to pick up the names of these keywords, right? But once you start using these day in and out, you will become very much comfortable, right? So this Boomi platform can be accessed with the help of platform.boomi.com. Okay, any individual who would be part of our paid subscription, right, of the course will be getting the access to this Boomi platform. So you don't need to worry about that. If you already have got the access, fantastic. If you do not have the access, you need not to worry about it. We'll take care of that. That is another question which might be there in your mind, right? How do I do the hands-on? Right? When I say hands-on means how do you do the practice? So those things will be taken care as well. What would be the duration? Like my sessions typically take 2 months. Okay, so I target for less than 2 months, but in all practical sense, it sometimes get extended to 2 months. So it should be somewhere between 45 days to 2 months. Right. I don't want to lie about it, but this is how it's gonna work. And the session timings would be 8:45 a.m. to 10 a.m. IST, and we are kind of firm on this timing. This is not going to change for any individual. If someone is not comfortable with this timing, then maybe they have to look for some alternative. But this is kind of fixed because we have a lot of audience who is already subscribed, and we are not going to change this timing until and unless each one of us would feel that we have to shift to some other time. Right, the sessions would be on from Monday to Friday, and Saturday, Sunday, we may have occasional sessions depending on the interest of the audience, right? But we may have it because there are certain topics in Boomi which cannot be covered in like 75 minutes, and we need lengthier sessions to make sure that the rhythm or the flow doesn't get distorted. So in all such cases, we might have little lengthier sessions also, right? But that all those things would be discussed. Each session would be recorded, right? And the recordings will be shared with the people who will subscribe for the course, right? This all recording and the content is copyright protected. If any one of you try to share this content without my consent, okay, expect some litigation on yourself, right? So please do not get into that kind of zone where we, instead of focusing on learning, try to focus on some malicious activities. I'm sure no one of you would try to do that, but of late I've seen some people trying some fancy stuff, which is not so good for them as well as us, right? So this is pretty much about it. I will guide you, about the certification and all, how to write the certification, which all certifications we have. We'll talk about that, but it is too early to talk about those things, right? So these are the basic level of details which I want to cover. If you have any details apart from this is my number. Okay, this is my number. You can WhatsApp me. I prefer to be contacted via WhatsApp than people calling me, as I am in back-to-back meetings throughout the day. So based on my convenience, I can call you back. If you have any questions, any concerns, anything which you want to discuss, you can directly WhatsApp me on this number, or you may have my team's phone number also. I don't remember it, but it is there on all our promotions which we do. You can WhatsApp there as well. Okay, please avoid calling directly. Okay, please WhatsApp if you have any questions. So you can make a note of this number, and in case you need any kind of discussion, you can do it over WhatsApp. All right, so let me send this number in the chat also. You can pull it from there. All right. So one quick check I would do before I get into this technical stuff. Any questions from any side, anyone? Any specific questions?
Any scripting knowledge needed to work on Dellboomi, like Groovy, JavaScript, Python?
Okay, a very good question. I think I should have covered it. See, what happens with Boomi is like 90 to 95% of the use cases can be achieved without the use of the Groovy or the JavaScript. So Boomi supports two types of scripting. Okay, one is JavaScript and another is Groovy script, right? These are the two scripting languages which are covered or which are supported by Boomi. Boomi also supports XSLT. Okay, XSLT is also very, very powerful transformation language. Okay, especially with XMLs and all, it really makes our life easy. So in order to answer your question, I would say 90 to 95% of the cases, you would not need all these things. And many people go to these options because they do not know to use Boomi right. Okay, if sometimes what happens is people come from the Java background or some programming language background. So instead of exploring all the components, instead of exploring all the options, the first thing they want to do is they want to go to script because they are more comfortable in that. And it is a human tendency. We always want to rush towards our comfort zone. But to be very honest, in majority of the cases, you do not need scripts. There are always alternatives without scripts, but there can be few cases where you have to do it. And in all those cases, you may not need to know everything about the scripting languages, but yes, gradually you may have to develop the tendency that you are able to understand those scripts. Because to be very honest, nobody writes these kind of scripts from scratch. We find all these scripts on Google. Okay, but we should have a tendency or we should have a capability to pick up the right script. Okay, I will take some scenarios, take some use cases where you can see those things, but you don't need to worry too much. At the same time, if you are very reluctant to learn any kind of new syntaxes, new languages, then maybe you may have tough time. But as long as you have a desire and intention to learn something new, you will not face challenges with this because you will be using very, very simple scripts in most of the cases. And when it goes really complex, it is about finding the right script from the internet and adding it into a component. So how to add that script, how to execute that script is fairly important than writing the actual script. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Any other questions from anyone? Guys, feel free to discuss because I know people would have a lot of questions in their head. Yeah.
Hi Sumit, actually the scripts are you covering in this session? Or
So I will show you how to use those scripts. So there is no fixed formula. We do not have any fixed set of scripts. Like these are the 5 or 50 or 500 scripts which we will always use. Depending on the different use cases, we might need to use different scripts. So I'll show you how to use those scripts. I will take a couple of examples, but as and when you will have the need, when you're working on some real-time projects, you would need to adapt to that. But I'll show you how to leverage that. If at all you have to write the JavaScript, where to write, what to write. If you have to write BoomiScript, where to write, what to write. If you have to use XSLT, where to write, what to write. I'll show that, but there can be a lot of use cases which we cannot think of, proactively, which would come, and accordingly we might need to write it. But you will get a fair idea of how it is done. But I'll not do any JavaScript classes. I will not do any Groovy classes. I will not do any XSLT classes because these are different languages in themselves, and these themselves have 30 hours, 40 hours courses.
okay.
Yeah. All right.
Sumit,
Yeah, go ahead.
Krishna here, Sumit. What is in this Boomi jobs and what is the scope for the opportunities?
So jobs wise, I think Boomi is a good technology or a tool to invest your career in, right? And again, this answer varies depending on your current experience, what is your expectation from the market, but overall the market is really good, and it would continue to be like that this for another 4 years or so for sure, right? And like as I mentioned, right, we have our own company, so we do a lot of hiring ourselves also. So if anyone is looking for a job out, we can also help with that. But otherwise, it's a very good demanding tool at the moment. So if you're learning it properly, getting jobs should not be a big deal. Okay, any other questions, guys?
Just with option which we are getting in training session is same as the real environment, like the same options, same thing, right? There was no changes in that.
I didn't get it. I mean, are you trying to ask whether this training would be a real-time training or some hello world kind of training? Is that what you are asking? Is that your question, Mahesh?
So what we are getting right for training purpose, that there will be access, right? That is, the environment is same like real-time
Yeah,
environment,
yeah.
right?
I mean, there are a couple of features which might change. Okay, but yeah, in most majority of the features are absolutely same. That's true.
So in sessions, you will cover one HCM on-premise to cloud HCM scenarios. How we
I may not
can
cover HCM.
do
I will
integration.
cover. I'll cover on-prem to cloud, cloud to cloud, on-prem to on-prem, but I may not cover HCM because see, you might come from HCM background, somebody might come from ERP background, some other person might come from CRM background. So to be very honest, this HCM and all doesn't matter as long as you know how to consume APIs. These all work more or less same way because all these cloud applications as of today are exposed via APIs. So ideally, as an integration guy, it doesn't matter whether you're integrating with HCM, ERP, or a CRM. As long as you know how to consume their APIs, you should be good. So our core focus should be on learning the fact that how to consume the APIs rather than focusing on the end system. But just to let you know, I cover the integration with Salesforce, ServiceNow. I will show the integration with Jira, the database, of course, the file system, how to use mail connector, maybe one or two other systems also. Okay, which is not there on top of my head. Like I can show with Amazon S3 bucket how to use it. So maybe 2, 3 other systems. But yeah, if you have some specific system in mind, no, I'm like, this is not a tailored session. So we have some curriculum. If you have something above and beyond it, you can talk to me one-to-one and we can work that out. But we will go in a prescriptive manner where we will give that flexibility and liberty to ask as many questions you want to ask. We will deviate, but we cannot, like for 20 people, we cannot pick 20 different systems. That won't be possible. But if you have something specific, I would definitely help you outside this.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, sir. I'm Shruti.
Yes,
Sir,
Shruti.
when we logging into Boomi, we will find some modules like integration, API management, master data hub, and flow. So you're going to cover all this, right, sir?
No,
In the
that's
session?
wrong. I don't think anybody knows everything. Okay, and nobody can cover everything. If they are telling, they are just lying. So these sessions will be focused on integration plus API design. Okay, and when you work in real time, these are the two things you would need in 95% of the cases, or maybe even 99% of the cases. So my sessions would be focused on integration plus API design. Good
Okay.
question. I think this gives a transparency and clear to a lot of people who would be here. All right. Any other questions, guys? Okay. Then we will jump onto the technical stuff. Okay. Today, the session will be too much of technical stuff. We'll cover some basic.
So
Yeah.
this is Srini. I have one question.
Yes.
So when you said API design, does it mean Boomi integration APIs or API management?
Okay. See, API design and API management are actually two different things. API management comes into the picture when your API is ready, right? Because when you can only manage something when that thing exists, right? So when I say API design, it would mean how to expose SOAP API, how to expose REST, right? Of course, we'll show consume SOAP, consume REST. I typically, when I say consume SOAP and REST, I typically talk about these in very, very detailed manner where I typically cover what is WSDL, XSD, all the REST standards, what is URI parameter, what is query parameter, HTTP headers, all that stuff. But yes, API management specifically, generally, I don't cover it. I mean, I do not want to commit for something which I may not do. When I, like typically API management will have developer portal, gateway, and all that stuff. So I will definitely talk about these things theoretically. But to be very honest, the API management offering of Boomi is not so promising. So I have seen, when we try to do sessions, you will see a lot of errors, lot of issues. So that's why in most of the cases, I try to be away. So if at all I will do this, this would be a bonus. But if you're subscribing for this course, assuming that, Sumit will cover API management also, please do not subscribe. Okay, I cannot guarantee you about it. I might do it, but I cannot guarantee at the moment. But this part, whatever is over here, this will be definitely covered in too much of detail. And in most of the cases, this is what you would need. Very few companies or customers would use API management of Boomi. Generally, for API management, they will use some different third-party offering, like FAG and all X-ray gateway. So in general, but yeah, you may have a customer who is using it. I can help you outside the classes for these kind of things, because this API management goes really bad sometimes. The gateway do not work and all. I have seen a lot of issues with API management of Boomi.
Okay. So one more question, Sumit.
Yeah.
Do you cover B2B integrations in this one?
B2B, so yes, we will plan 2 sessions for EDI, right? Referring to B2B. Okay, so there is a colleague of mine who will be taking 2 sessions on that, and he would be covering B2B. He's a B2B expert. So we will plan 2 sessions where that B2B part would be covered, because B2B is more about, configuring the trading partners and knowing those standards. And once you get those messages inside into Boomi, after that, it is more about integration. But yes, some knowledge is required over there and it is helpful. So we'll plan 2 sessions there.
Yeah, because some of the things like AS2, how to implement AS2 in Boomi might take a little more, couple more sessions. That's why I'm asking if that is covered in this.
So EDI would be there. We typically take 2 sessions, okay, where I'm not sure if we might use FTP or SFTP, but yeah, we can fine tune that. We can use AS2 also there. I don't think that should be a big deal. I mean, generally we plan 2 sessions, but see, I'm not kind of a person who would say that we will do only 2 sessions and after that it's up to you. If we need, instead of 2, we would go for 3, but it will not change to 30. Okay, it might deviate by here and there by 10%, but not 40 or 50%. That will not happen.
Okay. So what I'm trying to learn here is I just want to have an understanding of what are all the topics that are going to be covered as part of this course.
So what you can do is, probably for that, you can just ping me on WhatsApp here, okay, if you don't mind, and I share the course curriculum with you.
Okay.
Okay, the latest.
Sure.
Anyone who needs any information, you can just ping me. So that, because I want to be very transparent, no false commitments. If this thing works for you, more than happy to have you. If it doesn't work, never mind. But I don't want to give any false hope. We will do this, and then we don't do that. But whatever is required to work in real time, if it is not part of the curriculum, but you're stuck in some situation where you might need it explicitly, some help from my side would definitely be provided. All right. Guys, any questions from anyone?
Yeah. So what are the advantages of Dellboomi compared to other integration tools?
Okay, we'll talk about that as part of our session. I want more different questions which are generic. I mean, of course, this is also a generic question. We'll talk about these, because I want to stick to my curriculum, because otherwise this will become a little scattered session. We'll cover that topic. This is part of my agenda.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, then we will jump on to this Dellboomi stuff. Or now, if you have any questions, you can talk to me later on after the session. We'll not break the rhythm, because I asked a couple of times, nobody asked a question. So now I'll not take any further questions. We'll talk little technical for another 30 to 45 minutes, and then we will have a 15 minutes window at the end of the session to take any questions, or you can ping me on WhatsApp also, which is fine. So guys, we are here to talk about Dellboomi, which is essentially now known as only Boomi. right? All right. So this Boomi is an iPaaS offering. So what is the meaning of, what does iPaaS stand for? It stands for Integration Platform as a Service, right? So when these different offerings are given as a service, this all fundamental of giving offerings as a service started from cloud computing, right? So those people who have been there in the industry for a while, maybe maybe 15, 20 years back, 2 decades back, this all cloud computing started emerging in the market. Okay. And this cloud computing offering came in three broader forms. One is SaaS, one is IaaS, and third one is PaaS. So these are nothing but software as a service, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service. So it is a mechanism of providing you the service, providing you certain offerings as a service where you do not need to get an overhead of having everything installed, managed, and maintained. But this is something which will be taken care by some third-party companies like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Oracle. These different companies have different cloud offerings, and you can just use them as a service. Guys, can you be on mute if you're not talking? Right. So now this Boomi, whatever we are talking about, right? Boomi falls into this category. Now, when cloud computing was introduced to the market, these were the broader categories. Now, of course, as it is emerging and it is growing, there are further subcategories. So when we talk about the integration platform as a service, so this is definitely part of PaaS offering, which is nothing but platform as a service, and integration is one of the branches, right, of it. So when we talk about the Boomi offering, it is nothing but a PaaS offering, but more specifically, it is called as an integration platform, right? Of course, it is a platform, but what kind of a platform? Integration platform. And what is a true meaning of an integration platform? A true integration platform is one where you can develop, deploy, and manage the applications. Which means a true iPaaS would be the one where you can develop, deploy, and manage integrations on cloud without any overhead of setting up the infrastructure. So you should not have any overhead of setting up the infrastructure, managing, and maintaining it. Right. So if I'm making some spelling mistakes while typing, please excuse me. These are typos. We can fix it at a later stage, but yeah, you can just ignore it for the moment. So when we are saying iPaaS, right, a lot of people work in iPaaS, but if somebody asks them, okay, what is iPaaS? They cannot put it into words. iPaaS is one which would allow you to develop, deploy, and manage the integrations of cloud without any overhead of setting up the infrastructure, managing, and maintaining it. So you should just need the licenses and you should be good to get started. You don't need to worry for setting up the installer. You don't need to do any kind of installations. You don't need to maintain any kind of backup servers. You don't need to care about that. Those all things would be taken care by the service provider. So Boomi is nothing but a service provider who is providing the services as integration platform. So it is the responsibility of Boomi to manage and maintain it. So Boomi people, this Boomi folks uses AWS to manage their complete, or this is the place where they manage and maintain the complete infrastructure. Until few years back, they were using Rackspace, but I think 3 to 4 years back, they shifted to AWS. And since then, they have been using AWS for managing and maintaining their complete platform. Now, when people say that it would not need any installation, nothing, that is not true. Okay, any company would market their product with the positive points and they would try to hide away the negative points, right? Whether it is Boomi or Boomi has their one of the competitors. Do you guys know who is the biggest competitor to Boomi right now in the market?
MuleSoft.
MuleSoft.
Right? MuleSoft, very nice. So you are very informed people. Good to have you people. So Boomi, MuleSoft nowadays, another tool which is picking up the market very fast is Workato. Of course, we have a lot of other products, Oracle Integration Cloud, right? And nowadays, like we have SnapLogic, we have Jitterbit, and there are many. Okay, there is a huge list which you can find. There are many, right? You go like to any big vendor, they will have some integration offering. But the two offerings which have been doing really well in the market, especially in the cloud space, is Boomi and MuleSoft. And this work at all is also, picking up well. Right, but yeah, our core focus, when you try to find A versus B, you should always do the comparison between these tools. So what I'm trying to say is, these all companies try to market their product and sell their product, highlighting the positive aspects. So when they say it is a true iPaaS, it might be a true iPaaS for some use cases, but there would be a lot of use cases where it would not work as a true iPaaS. Okay, which means it is not true that you can develop, deploy, and manage the integration on cloud without any overhead of any kind of installation. This statement might be true for some of the use cases, but there would be few use cases where this statement would not stand true. You will have to do some kind of installations. You will have to add some kind of agents. So we'll come across those things, but I just want to highlight, though this is the true definition of integration platform, but this is going to deviate a bit depending on the kind of use case we encounter, right? So now when we are talking about the integration platform, okay, we understand we can develop, deploy, and manage integration. But what is integration? Right? Unless we know the core thing which we are here to learn, we are not here to learn only Boomi. Of course, Boomi is one thing we are going to focus, but we are here to learn integration, because these tools might come and go, right? There was a time where people felt TIPCO would never go away, right? There used to be software, AG, web methods, then there used to be Oracle Fusion middleware, and these are still there. These have not completely extinct. These are still there, but these are being overtaken by the modern tools, right? These are called as traditional integration tools, and now these are called as modern cloud-based integration tools. So now gradually you would see in the market there are a lot of migration projects. Migration projects as in, see, integration has been the need of an enterprise for a long time. Okay, all the big enterprises know that we cannot get the most out of our IT investment unless we have strong integration layer among different applications which are part of the system, right? So integration is significant, that is true, but the way we do integration keeps on changing depending on the fact how my applications are, where are those located, what kind of technology is used to build those applications, what kind of scalability those applications can support. Because see, integration has no existence of its own without those peer applications, because the whole idea about integration is nothing but collaboration, right? So any collaborator, so the job of integration is to collaborate, to facilitate the collaboration, right? So there is an application A which might be, let's say, ERP. Let's say there is a ERP, and there is another application which is a CRM. Now these ERP might be of Oracle. Okay, it can very well happen, or it might be from SAP, or it might be from Microsoft, and the CRM might be from Salesforce. Now these have come from two different vendors. These have two different purposes, right? What is the core use of ERP? To manage the resources of the enterprise, right? And those can be different type of resources depending on the kind of nature of the work enterprise. When I say enterprise, it is nothing but a company, right? The end client for whom we all work, right? Your end client might be in different business. So we may have end clients who are into healthcare business. We may have end client who might be into the banking business. We may have end client who is into the retail. So depending on the nature of the business they have, they would have to manage different resources. They would have to receive the orders. They would have to deliver those orders. They have to manage their inventories, right? They have to manage their finances. So those all things can be done with the help of an ERP. ERP will have different modules to take care of these different kind of things. And ERP is the heart of any enterprise. If your enterprise goes for, if your ERP goes for a toss, that means that enterprise itself might go for a toss. So ERP is very, very sensitive for any enterprise. And you would see the huge investment of any enterprise IT is around ERP. Okay. And most of the CEOs of the companies, there are many high position holders people, they come from the ERP background, because people working in ERP would be very, very close to business. They would understand the business really well, because they cannot work only tech. Of course, we will have technical people also, but even though you're a technical person, you would end up getting a real good understanding of the business if you're close to ERP, right? Then there is something called a CRM, which is nothing but customer relationship management, right? So this is a software, this is an application which will help you to basically manage your customers' data, right? And it is not necessary that each and every organization have to use this different kind of application. Okay, depending on their appetite, they can decide whether they need a CRM or they do not need a CRM, right? If they have, let's say, limited 100 customers which can be managed and maintained on an Excel, they might do that. Okay, just because there are different offerings in the market, we cannot go and purchase it, right? It all depends on our appetite. If we have a need of it, we will take it. If we don't have a need, we might look for an alternative. But generally, all the big customers will have these two offerings as a part of their IT ecosystem. And now these are built, this might be built in different technologies. This might be offered by different vendors. But when these are purchased and procured by any enterprise, there is some kind of an integration needed, right? Why integration is needed? Because let's say when a customer is created in CRM, I need the same customer to reflect in ERP. Okay, why would I create a customer? Because I would want to do some kind of a business, right? Yes. So let's say my sales team went out, they were working on an opportunity and they won a new deal. So I got a new customer. So when I got a new customer, that certainly means I would get some new purchase orders from that customer. I will be doing invoicing to that customer. I will be doing the shipments and delivery of the products to the customer, or it might be shipments of the products, or maybe I'm providing some services. But eventually I would need that customer information in CRM as well as ERP, right? So by default, these are not integrated. This aroma which I'm showing is a process of establishing that collaboration. By default, when you procure these products, these are not integrated, right? And nowadays, no organization wants to restrict themselves to a single, to a single vendor. They want to look for the best of breed. Okay, there was a time where the company used to purchase all products from a single vendor. So we used to say, this is an Oracle shop, this is an IBM shop, this is a Microsoft shop. This is still true, but gradually all the different companies are moving out of that phenomenon and they are looking for best of breed. They do not want to confine or restrict themselves to a single vendor, right? If Salesforce is the perfect CRM, they would prefer to go for that rather than purchasing a CRM from Oracle just because of the fact that they have Oracle's ERP. So when these distinct applications are there, it becomes very, very important for an organization to look for some strong integration layer. They would want some integration offering which is capable of integrating the discrete applications built in different technologies running under different conditions. When I say different conditions, some might be on-prem, some might be on cloud. What is on-prem? What is the meaning of on-prem?
It will be with the
On premises.
On-prem and on-premises is fine, but when an application is behind corporate firewall, managed and maintained by the enterprise. Yes. So when you are going to completely manage and maintain it from the scratch and it is behind corporate firewall, then it is on-prem, right? When something is on the cloud, then you are not going to manage and maintain it. You don't need to worry about the OS. You don't need to worry about the storage. You don't need to worry about any kind of patching over the time. Everything is going to be taken care by the vendor who is hosting those applications on cloud, right? But on-prem is something where that responsibility of managing, maintaining it lies on us. So the point I'm trying to say is, so the different applications which are a part of the enterprise will be having the different environment conditions. Okay, and we cannot change that. We cannot bring everything on the same page. We cannot bring everything on the cloud. We may have some business restrictions which stops us from pushing everything onto the cloud. Maybe it doesn't make sense for my business to have everything on the cloud. Maybe there is very sensitive data of my customer which I'm not comfortable to push on the cloud. I would want to maintain it on-prem itself. But having said this, I should also be open for any opportunities for collaboration, right? So since the time things have started moving on the cloud, the collaboration or the sharing of the data among the different stakeholders have increased, and that is where the demand of integration is increasing day by day. Because until and unless we have the connectivity, because integration is also about establishing the connectivity, right? When we say two things are integrated, that means these two things can speak to each other, these two things can talk to each other, these two things are connected. So integration is definitely about collaboration. Integration is also about the connected experience. So this connected experience among the different applications is very, very significant, because this helps in reducing the overall life cycle of any process, right? Because we, as a sales guy, let's say when I add the customer details in the CRM, I would want those details to be available in the ERP. I would not want to add those again manually, because if I do so, likewise we can have, let's say, 100 different systems. If you work for bigger customers, they would have thousands of applications. Sometimes they are in a situation where they themselves do not know that how many applications we have and what are the number of interfaces we may have, because they are growing so rapidly. And like IT culture, people start leaving the organizations every 3 to 4 years, so it becomes difficult for them over a period of time to manage and maintain them. And that is where integration becomes very, very important, because these different applications need to speak with each other. Otherwise, I will not be able to realize the true benefit of all these applications. I cannot afford to have my applications living in silo, right? So the moment I have my application in silo, isolated, then I cannot have the true benefits realized. I would be not able to automate the workflows, automate the business processes. And as and when we want to expand, we have to look for automation. We have to automate the processes, right? So when you fire an order on, let's say, Flipkart as of today, right, you would prefer to have an order number or a tracking number immediately, right? Because user is looking for some real-time information. User cannot wait. User is impatient. User need faster experience. User need something immediately, right? So if that needs to happen, there has to be some integration. Now there are different mechanisms of achieving the integration, right? So what we are saying is, we are here to talk about Boomi. Boomi is an iPaaS, which stands for Integration Platform as a Service, and any offering is called as an iPaaS, which allows us to build, deploy, and manage integrations on the cloud without any overhead of managing and maintaining the infrastructure. We just need to get the licenses of the services, and once those licenses are there, we are good to start straight away with the integrations. With our traditional tools, what used to happen is, when we used to purchase the licenses, there used to be a lengthier sessions or lengthier cycles where we had to procure lot of other dependent things. So let's say I'm procuring the license of integration software. I might need to procure the hardware also. I might need to procure the licenses of the OS on those hardware. I would need to think about the storage. So I have to think about the networking. So there are a lot of things which had to fall in place, and it used to take sometime months to do the complete setup done before I could have my instance up and running. But now people need rapid development. Okay. Because if you are not fast enough, then you will get replaced. If you have some idea, but you are not having the tendency or the ability to implement that fast, your competitor would win the race, right? So that is where organizations are moving about towards digital transformation, right? Which is another very important topic, a generic topic, but they are moving towards digital transformation because organizations want to get into a zone where they can do rapid development. They have some idea in mind. They can go live with that idea in 2 days. So if we want to really do those kind of things, that is only possible where we can reduce this overhead of managing and maintaining this all cloud. We need some scalable solutions. We need some solutions where we just hit on the button and my environment is ready, right? We need lot of automation everywhere around, and that is where this cloud adaptability is increasing day by day. Now what I'm trying to say is, when we start adapting to the cloud, right? Let's say I had my ERP on prem, it is moving to the cloud. I had my CRM on prem, it is also moving on to the cloud. Or maybe I'm replacing my CRM because I find my CRM is becoming legacy and now I need some modern solution. So when I start doing so, integration cannot be left alone, because integration job is to make different applications talk to each other. If my peer applications are getting modernized, right, of course I have to modernize my integration layer also, right? I cannot have a scenario wherein I'm modernizing my ERP, I'm modernizing my CRM, I'm modernizing my HRMS, I'm modernizing my data warehouse, but I'm not modernizing my integration layer, because that would be a true failure. If I am modernizing the peer applications, of course, the layer which is making these different applications to talk to each other needs to be modernized as well. If applications themselves are moving to the cloud, then the layer which is binding them together has to be modern enough, has to be cloud native. It cannot be something which was built with on-prem integrations in mind, right? So that is where organizations are moving away from these products and they are adopting these products. And when you go out in the market, you would see a lot of people doing these migrations. They have some migrations or transformations, right? These are two different words having two different meaning. People use interchangeably, but of course the meanings are different. But right now we will not get into those technicalities of those words, but you would see a lot of folks doing these kind of migration or transformation. And of course there are some fresh integrations also, because there are a lot of new companies which have come up in last decade, right? The market is all the more open for these new companies, and they are adopting these cloud native tools from day one. And that is where we have a lot of fresh integrations, as well as we have a lot of work where we have to migrate things, right? Any questions so far?
No, sir.
All right. So now this Boomi we are talking about here, of course, it is an integration tool. Now, what happens is integration can be done in different ways, right? So there can be manual integration. Okay. So all our organizations may not look for automated solutions. They might do some manual integration also. Okay. Or maybe even before the manual integration, they might do some data entry kind of thing also. For example, I have only 10 customers. I deal with 10 customers only. My business revolves around those 10 customers. And for me, buying or adding an additional integration layer looks very cumbersome, because I will end up exhausting huge capital in that without any return on that investment. Because whenever you want to purchase something, you would always do some analysis, right? What are the pros? What are the cons, right? And it is not only about getting that software and implementing it. It is also about managing and maintaining it, right? Lot of people, right, who are new to their careers, even 7 years, 8 years experience guys, they always focus on development and all. but the executives of the company, the CXO level of the company folks, they are more focused about how would I maintain it, how would I manage it, because developing is something, okay, it is a one-time activity, even it is a little expensive, that is fine. But when I go into the maintenance mode, that might have to happen for years and years. How easy it is to manage and maintain it, right? Like somebody asked me a question, what are the benefits of Boomi over MuleSoft? So first of all, when you have to identify the benefits, you have to understand the parameters on the basis of which you want to do evaluation. And these parameters might change, right? There is no fixed formula, because somebody might like dosa and there might be other person who might like idli, right? So it is all depending on your appetite, it is all depending on your parameters. So as an organization, when I want to do any kind of evaluation, I would list down my parameters, that these are the 15 or 20 things which are very, very significant for me. Okay, an integration platform might offer you hundreds of services, but you will try to list down that these 15 services or 15 offerings are very crucial for me. And then you will start evaluating different products on those 15 or 20 parameters, right? I mean, you may not get everything everywhere. For example, I'm very, very cost sensitive, right? I cannot go beyond, let's say, certain X amount of dollars. Then if cost is the most important factor for me, even though MuleSoft might be one of the good products in the market, but MuleSoft is out of race because it is very expensive. So that is where I'm trying to tell, and I reserve my comments when you ask A versus B, because people do not understand that there are a lot of factors on the basis of which this evaluation has to happen. Because if, let's say, the Boomi was only the best product, then why would people purchase any other product? Because everybody needs the best. So best might change depending on your needs. Something which is best for company A may not be best for company B, because they may have different requirements, they may have different preferences, right? But of course, knowing those 15-20 factors which are very significant while doing evaluations is important. So we'll come across that. So what I was saying is, there are companies who are still doing manual integration because their business is very, very small, and they don't see any need of investing, into an integration layer. So they might do manual integration, which means, okay, they may have a guy who is looking into the CRM. Okay, they will, maybe their sales folks only. Okay, they may have one person in the sales team who is adding the details over here. There might be one person who looks into the ERP, or there might be same person who looks into the ERP. This person will go and create a customer in ERP also, because I have only 10 customers. Why would I need something which is integrated, automated, and all that stuff? I might not do that. So this is like pure data entry. You are entering the data over here, and you are entering the data over here. I mean, of course, you can categorize it into manual integration also, but this is also like kind of an integration where I have a customer over here as well as a customer in the ERP, but this is possible manually. There is another way where, okay, what I will do is I will get the export of all customers' data from Salesforce. So generally, all these tools will give you a flexibility to export the data in the form of CSV or Excel files, right? And import it into ERP. I can do that also, right? I will take an export of the data from the Salesforce. So Salesforce will give you that flexibility, and ERP will also give you flexibility to import the data. Now, when you follow all these approaches, right, first of all, these are slow in nature, isn't it? So wherever you need manual intervention, wherever you do not have automation, definitely in majority of the cases, that will be slow in nature, right? And you are adding a risk. Risk is when something is human dependent, right? It might happen that the person who was looking into all these aspects is on leave. Okay, it is, and that is where integration is getting a lot more demand after this COVID has hit our whole world, right? Organizations have realized that automation is very important. We cannot rely on human beings for our sensitive processes, for our processes which are very, very important for the business. Even the small or the medium-sized customers who were little reluctant to invest in these tools and technologies are now open to invest in these tools and technologies because they have realized their businesses were hit badly because of all this, pandemic. And this has again opened the floodgates. So a lot of you might have also seen when this COVID just started, I think a lot of people were losing jobs. And then again, there was a complete reform where a lot of opportunities started arriving in the market because of the very same thing, right? But when you're doing manual, it is slow in nature and it is also prone to errors, isn't it? So when you do manually, it might happen that, okay, when you were extracting the data, you forgot to extract the data of one field, right? Which was very important to ERP. Or there can be many more examples which I can talk, but some people will not be able to correlate at the moment. One example is like the data model in the CRM is different from the data model in the ERP. And whenever was taking an export and was doing an import, I kind of messed up the relationships. I don't know how many of you are aware, but data model is an important thing to know whenever we integrate with any application. So as an integration guy, right, if I'm integrating with the Salesforce, I must understand the data model of the objects with which I will do the integration. But if you do not understand this, just park it, just keep it aside, don't worry. Gradually, we will become mature to understand what would data model mean, but it is an important thing to know. So this is slow in nature, prone to error. This is not scalable. This is not scalable for sure. This is not secure. I mean, maybe I have an employee, okay, who is knowing the whole information about my customers, and I might end up revealing some sensitive information, right, which might hamper my business. My employee might go to send these details to my competitor. I never know. So I do not want to keep it open, right? I want these to be secured. So these manual integrations are generally done by small size enterprises whose business size is very, very small, where they have very limited customers or very limited orders, right? But when some organization is looking for scalability, they are looking for rapid growth, they will not go for manual integrations. They will look for something which is automated. What do you mean by automated? Automated means I will create the customer over here immediately. That customer should get synchronized here, right? So for those kind of things, I would need an automated integration. Now these automated integrations can be further subclassified. These can be point-to-point integrations. Okay, and these can, what do you mean by point-to-point integration? These can be loosely coupled integrations. So what I'm trying to say is, before understanding about Boomi, like a lot of people directly jump onto the tool, which is typically not the right approach, because these tools will have a lifespan. Okay, regardless of the tool you talk about, these all will have some lifespan, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, but definitely their lifespan will be shorter than our professional lifespan. So you would always come across at a stage in your career where the tool which was at a boom will have a downfall, and now you may need to come out of your comfort zone and learn something new. And you will be able to do that easily if, instead of focusing on the tool, you focus on that branch as a whole. So right now we are trying to learn Boomi, which falls into the integration layer, or which is a part of the integration branch. So your philosophy, I mean, this is just a suggestion. I mean, I'm not trying to give you some gyan, but you should always try to understand things more from the integration perspective as a whole, rather than just focusing or confining yourself to one tool, right? Please never do that. It might be okay to do that at the start of your career, but gradually you have to become more generic in nature. Okay? And unless and until you do that, you will have tough time in future. All right. So we talked, there are manual integrations. Manual integrations might be in the form that where one person is adding the data in one system and adding the data into another system, or we are taking the export of files and importing it into another system. But this is like a tedious process this is definitely slow in nature. We might end up creating some errors. This is not even scalable and secure, difficult to manage and maintain if the volume increases. So there is another way. I would do automation, right? Automation means if something happens in one system, that will get reflected in the other systems also. So again, in order to do that, there are two ways: point-to-point integrations and loosely coupled integration. So when you're working in the integration world, this loosely coupled thing you will hear very, very frequently, right? So it is important to know what is it. And even point-to-point integrations you will hear very, very frequently. So what is point-to-point integrations? Anyone has any idea?
When one system is dependent on the other.
Okay. When two systems talk to each other directly, okay, without any intermediary. Yes. So it's like I want to purchase a flat in Bangalore, right? Instead of taking a help of any agency or a broker, I go to the owner of the house directly and I sign a deal with that house owner directly, right? So what are the advantages of doing that? Let's say I sign a deal. I wanted to purchase a flat. Okay, I saw a signboard which says, okay, I saw a board outside a house. This flat is available for sale. I check the property, looks fantastic. I go and sign a deal with the house owner directly without any intermediator involved in between.
No need to give commission.
Okay, no need to give commission. But still, why do we go to brokers then? Okay, no need of commission is absolutely correct. Okay, makes sense. So reduce cost. Can I say reduce cost?
Yes.
Yes. What are other advantages?
All paperwork.
Time also.
So paperwork becomes easy or tough?
Easy.
It will become tough.
So those people who have experienced, who have bought the flat will be able to tell me whether it becomes easy or tough.
Tough, because we need to go through all the papers and everything, right?
So you have an additional overhead, right? Isn't it?
Yes, additional overhead. Yes, that's right.
So you are not an expert, right? Are you an expert? Do you know how to check the papers? No. But are you not putting that overhead on yourself? Isn't it? See, something which is not your zone, you have to move out of your zone. So your zone may be your business, or maybe you are doing some job anywhere. You are drawing some salary, or you are making some money. Now, instead of focusing on that, you're losing your focus and you are getting into someone else's zone wherein you have to do the verification of the property papers. Now, just because you wanted to save some money, okay, you added there is an added overhead. Okay, overhead in what sense? Validating the property documents, right? What else?
We need to manage by ourselves.
Are you not adding a risk?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to make a payment to someone, right? That person may not be a relative, right? We just saw a board. We are going here. We are giving some money, but can you give a cash or a money to someone or some sensitive details to someone whom you don't trust completely, right? Whom you do not know for some time. There is no one to take that responsibility, isn't it? So these all are few reasons, right? Why we will see nobody wants to spend extra money, but still we want things to be, done with a broker, because as an integration is nothing but a broker. So when we are into integration, we are nothing but brokers. And this terminology may not sound so good to hear, but there are offerings in the integration called as message brokers. Okay. So we are nothing but brokers only. What are the other advantages or disadvantages of this approach?
Time consuming.
Very nice. This is time consuming process. I mean, initially it might look faster. Okay. How it might look faster, that you do not need to go to agent office and do this. Initially, it will always look faster, that you can talk to that person directly. But if something goes wrong, you would see this will be very, very time consuming. Okay, so this point-to-point integrations look really perfect solution when you have very limited number of applications, right? When everything is going fine, right? For example, A application is available, B application is available, everything happy, green path, sunny day, everything looks good. When things start going south, you will see there will be a lot of overhead. This become time consuming, and this is like leads to single point of failure. I mean, single point of failure is little technical thing. I mean, but this might happen. And there is a tight coupling. Does it not involve a tight coupling? Tight coupling means when two entities are completely dependent on each other, right? When two entities are completely dependent on each other, then it is called as tight coupling. If one entity goes down or if one entity is unavailable, it starts impacting the existence of other entity also. That is called as a tight coupling. So all these points which you have told, right? If you think through, you might come across, or you might add 2, 3, or 4 more points also, right? Right? Let's say you have to buy 10 properties. Okay, maybe you're an NRI, you earned all your life, and now you're back to India. Now you want to buy different properties. Do you think this is scalable? Is this scalable? Can you go and do 10
no,
deals
not at all.
directly?
No,
This is
no,
not
no.
scalable, right? So for small deals, it will be nice, right? When we want a rented house, we might be okay to do this, isn't it? A lot of people purchase that, get that, not purchase, but get that rented accommodation, especially in the southern part of our country, India, by this mode. But when we have to really purchase the house, we do not want to do this, because when the stakes are high, you do not want to take a risk. Right? When the stakes are low, you might be still okay to take the risk. And that is the whole point I'm trying to say. When the companies are of smaller size, the stakes are low, they might be okay to take that risk because they always have a mechanism where they can do things manually. But as and when their stakes increases, they do not want to add that risk. None of the company want to lose a single order. They do not want to design any kind of IT ecosystem which has a tendency to do a revenue leakage, right? Because the whole idea is of having this complete IT ecosystem to increase the revenue, right? It should not backfire me in any way. So this is definitely not scalable, right? And you know, like, let's say you purchase house and you will want some additional facilities, right, before you make the final deal. And if that person is not agreeing or deviating from the promises, then you do not have anyone to go and claim for, right? So you always look for some kind of an intermediator, because these all things are kind of overhead. I do not want an overhead. I want to focus on my things. I am a software employee. I want to focus on my job. At the same time, I want to purchase a property, which is fine, but I'm okay to pay some extra money, and I would want expert to take care of it, right? When you file your income tax returns, do you hire or do you go to a CA, chartered accountant, right? Why don't you do it yourself? Because we do not want that overhead. We want to pass that overhead to a intermediator layer who can take care of that for us, and we will pay for those services and we'll do an integration. So this is happening all across the board. So if you start observing your real-time things, what you are doing day in and out, even as a layman, you would see integration is all around. Whether in the technical world or a non-technical world, integration is all around. And these days, in this digital world, the companies who are doing the integration right, or who are realizing the importance of integration, are making more money. Agents are making more money than the owner and the people who are, purchasing the houses. You take an example of Paytm. Okay, I'm sure you all must be knowing Paytm. Okay, they started maybe a decade back, or of course I don't remember their exact establishment date, but at least 10 to 15 years back, right? Now they have kind of evolved over a period of time. But just think of a Paytm, what it was maybe 10 years back. Now they have evolved into a fintech company. But now when they started, they were allowing you, or they were giving you the services like you can recharge your phone, this mobile phones, right? It will allow you to make the payment for your electricity bill, water bills. So do you think Paytm had anything of their own? I mean, when I say anything of their own, I mean, were they actually telecom service providers? Were they having any stake in telecom service company like Airtel or Vodafone or Idea or any of those? No, right? What were they doing at the end of the day?
Integrating with the.
They came up with a single platform where everything is integrated. Because as a user, I do not want an overhead of going into 15 different places. I want to manage everything at a single place. This was the whole idea, right? And when you want everything to be brought at a single place, you definitely need huge amount of integration, isn't it? So they brought everything at a single place, gave a user a connected experience, integrated experience, right? So when people go to the Paytm as a layman, okay, think about the layman who have no idea about the technology. So they always get an experience that it is Paytm who is doing the recharge, but actually the recharge might be happening into the telecom service provider applications, right? But that connected experience is there. You do not get a visibility into what is happening behind the scene. You are abstracted from that. So they build that brand value. Okay, people, instead of going to that scratch cards which we used to get for recharging the mobile phones, or instead of going to the website of Airtel or Vodafone, they started recharging their phones from Paytm. And of course, they added some lucrative offers also. Of course, these offers are added to basically addict or make people use that application. So the point I'm trying to tell you is this integration is all around, right? Even this Paytm, there are many examples. You take an example of Make My Trip. Make My Trip, do they have any stakes in all these companies like these all airline service provider? No, right? What they are doing at the end of the day, they're integrating everything together, giving a connected experience to the end user, right? So these are the different ideas which people had. They materialize those ideas and they are doing really good. So now in order to implement this, they can do it in a point-to-point integration fashion. But if they do point-to-point integrations, as you rightly mentioned, these are the different pros and cons, right? So whenever we will look for something scalable, right? Something which is long lasting, something which is more secure, something which is not set up for failure, then they will go for loosely coupled integrations. An integration is said to be loosely coupled when the dependency among the systems which are being integrated is minimal. So I should have minimum dependency among the systems which are being integrated. What does that mean? Okay, let's say we talk about this point-to-point integration a little further. There is an application A which needs to integrate with application B, right? Application B, and now they are talking to each other directly. Okay, regardless of so they might be built in different languages. For example, this is built in Java and this is built in .NET. It can very well happen. So do you think I will have to write some custom code in order to do integration between these two applications? See, integration will still be possible between these two applications directly also. It is not that it is not possible, but I will have to do some custom coding. Okay, I will have to write some custom code here and I'll have to write some custom code even here. So unnecessarily I'm writing custom code, though my core focus might be on a different thing. But now I'm writing some custom code for integrations because I'm adopting point-to-point integration. Now let's say what happens is this application B upgrades. There is a sub upgrade which is happening on the application B. Do you think it might impact application A also?
Yes.
Yes. So these are tightly coupled. Yes or no? These are tightly coupled. So when we call an integration as tightly coupled, an integration is said to be tightly coupled when the dependency among the systems which are being integrated is very high. when the systems, or I would rephrase this, when the systems being integrated are completely dependent on each other, right? So these integrations which are built in a tightly coupled fashion might be very risky. It might be very time consuming. And as and when you will grow as an enterprise, you would see you will have to do a lot of custom coding. You like, because when we want integration, we want in such a fashion that I can add a new system and this can be integrated with other existing systems in an easy manner, right? Because if I am setting the wrong foundation, what is going to happen is over a period of time, when I start adding more systems, it might happen that there are compatibility issues. It might happen that the new system which I'm purchasing is not integratable with my legacy applications. I always have to keep that overhead in my mind, right? Whenever I'm looking for a new system, I always need to see whether it is compatible with application A and B. But if I'm going for loosely coupled solution, these integration layers are smart enough that they can integrate with modern applications, legacy applications, and you don't need to worry about if any upgrade is going to happen. This is not going to impact my application A, right? Because if upgrade of one application starts impacting all other applications, then instead of focusing on the future abilities, I will be always highly invested on the managing and maintaining it. And as a CXO of the company, as a CIO of the company, I would never want to invest on a product which is high maintenance. Right? So we will take a pause over here. Okay, I know this is a little bit of theory, but if you have to survive in integration, you need to know all those things, because many a times you will be part of different conversations where these all points would come in. Right? And if you do not know those fundamentals, you will always be short of words. You will not be able to participate, or you will not be able to relate with those conversations. So that's pretty much from my side for today. Okay. So from tomorrow, we will have our regular sessions. I know some people are joining this as a demo, right? So we will have regular sessions. We will have a separate link from tomorrow. If you need I will stay back for taking any questions. Don't worry. This is my phone number. I'll write again. This is my email ID. Okay. I mean, you can speak to my team also, but in case you have more technical questions and all, you can always reach out to me.